welcome back to Finding a Toria. I'm Tori. We got more people in here.
I'm Malcolm.
I surprised
I'm
them,
Arcadia.
We talk about D&D stuff.
We do. Welcome
And
back.
TTRPG.
Yeah, and other games too.
TTRPGs.
As a matter of fact, we're talking about.
Well, we're talking about both.
Yeah.
We are. We're talking about
And more than.
Yeah.
some people that have spanned a lot of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at works for
Oh my
one of
gosh,
them.
Yeah.
We're talking about Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, y'all.
Yeah, it's kind of in line
Two of
with
the big names.
our current sort of sub-series about Daggerheart and the efforts of Darrington Press with their latest release and their acquisition of creative director and games director, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's been sort of an interesting topic to delve into a little bit. I know there's been a lot of supposition in the community about how that all
How it went down.
went down.
But we don't know.
Which, yes, we do not
We
have
don't
the behind
know.
the scenes of.
But
But I think, what we wanted to talk about today is, sort of leaning into, like Malcolm said, we're talking about Daggerheart, we're talking about Darrington Press. And so we've been edging around it. The big news being that Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, earlier in 2025,
They stopped working.
retired from
Wizards.
Wizards of the Coast, which they had both worked at for decades. And they
it's set-
hired on in June for Darrington Press. So not involved per se with the current
Daggerheart.
Daggerheart
Yeah.
release.
No, but the events coincided well enough that I think
Yes.
it was they I think we've discussed before were influenced by one another.
Yes. Very
Well,
much
and
so.
I think another part of it is they had, because Candela Obscura isn't an TTRPG, but it's more like, I think it's in the middle between that and like, I think it was like Queen Before Midnight was another one
yeah.
the Mighty Nine one. It's the Okatoa one. I think they have more like,
So these are games that Darrington
lit
Press
based?
has also released prior to Daggerheart.
Right. This
But-
is not their first foray.
right, but Daggerheart's a system.
Yes, it is.
So I think they had games, so they have game designers, but now they have a system,
Right, right.
which means a lot more than just one-offs.
The duality dice and no, just some things that we were just kind of interacting with and getting excited about. It's going to be interesting to go back and kind of listen to our progression of coming to know this
Right.
game. And part of what we did today was try to get to know those two characters that have had such an impact in TTRPG design
Huge.
for years, and why it's important that they are now with a different company doing different things and innovating different ideas.
So let's give a little bit of information about these guys for people who may not be in the know that are listening. So we've got Chris Perkins, and my understanding, Chris has been doing storytelling within the D&D world since the 80s, 1988, I believe. He was writing stories for Dungeon Magazine.
Right. And it kind of in it from the beginning, it kind of goes back to those artists that we talked about that started so young in the hobby, and the comic artists that did the same thing. That he was just a kid that was passionate about the thing and kept at it. And it wasn't until '97 where he actually became an employee full time for WotC.
Yeah. So that's actually, I don't know, as a kid who grew up playing the game, I think that's actually really sort of cool. Just to have spent a career, an entire lifetime career,
Gaming?
in influencing and creating those stories that create the
Fucking
game.
awesome.
I don't have it, but I remember when we were researching earlier, he had a pen name in those early days.
It was just Thura, whatever. It was Zarathustra?
Zarathustra. Yes, it was.
There we go.
I just thought it was cool that he just kind of stayed with it, and maybe not just worked his way up, but followed his passion up in a different way than maybe Jeremy came to the company. That was off of previous success with another company, designing and putting out games. But one of the things that I find very interesting about Chris, if we get back to him, was his effect on the live play aspect of D&D and TTRPG fandom and what he got done at PAX.
Yeah.
He's
sort of a penultimate DM in a lot of ways.
He's the final boss. He's the BBEG.
Yeah, and
of GMs.
And
like,
Acquisitions Incorporated kind of paved the way for a lot of the comfort in finding the audience that further programs and future programs kind of have benefited from, was this idea that people might want to get into a room and watch very entertaining people play a game that they love. And listen to those stories. And dude did a lot. But that was one of the coolest things I thought that he did. And then he never, started back in 77 or whenever it was and had a Twitch channel and was, following all of the streams of spreading the game and the experience to other people. I enjoyed reading about Chris.
Yeah, and he's still doing that.
He's still. I will say that he probably won't be, because he was Dean. He was, before they gave it to Abria.
Right.
He was the DM for the cast of Baldur's Gate when they actually were playing their characters.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He was DMing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he does the PAX circuit anymore. They do. I don't think that they do Acquisitions Inc. anymore with him, but. Yeah, just kind of a guy that would
be such a crapshoot, dude. Oh my God.
I'll go back to both of them on this. Could have called his shot anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere.
Right.
He could have fucking retired.
Could have retired, could have built his own brand. And I just think it's interesting that at that time that they landed where they did.
Yeah. To me, as we talk about him and, talking about Daggerheart and that, and to be clear, like, again, neither Chris nor Jeremy came over before the release of Daggerheart. This was, right after the release of Daggerheart. But what I see there, I think just if I'm trying to look at information and say, well, why might someone want to do this? He's a storyteller first and foremost, and his title is game director now, but like, he's a storyteller, always has been. That's always been his function and his role. And, we spoke in our last episode about the fact that, actually the last two episodes, that, narrative and all of that can be a wonderful part of Dungeons and Dragons that he was working on with WotC. But for Daggerheart, it is the primary focus.
Right.
And so I can see how that would be very attractive to someone whose entire career has been about storytelling, about live action storytelling,
right.
And all of that.
Well, and as a GM / I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying DM. I know that's not necessarily it, but as our DM, like, straight up. Do you would you have, had it been you, would you been jumped at the chance to make something more?
I don't know. Like I said, those are a lot of personal decisions.
Yeah.
In my ideal complex of thought, that 2024 rules had just dropped. It was what they had from their positions, because once again, there were so many people working on this project, but from their positions had overseen or had been involved in. That was sort of their
jumping off point,
their pinnacle.
This. Yeah, and I think to the point that they just retired from WotC well before we knew, the people.
Yeah,
knew.
I'm sure this was building for a while.
But there was nothing left to do in the game. It's kind of like the guys in the girls in the sports realm that break records and then keep going. What else do you have to do at WotC? What else can you give to D&D? And because you are where you are in this realm, what would you like to see? And how do we make Darrington an attractive place for you to bring your creativity to? And not that there were things compromised there, but I think, like, once again, when you're dealing with the high echelon of talent in any field, and you want to draw them to an employment relationship.
And
if you have that much shit behind you.
Sure.
What I think is really interesting about it is and we talked about this in previous episodes, that, it's not as though Critical Role and Darrington Press are truly a tiny independent itty bitty company. You know, I mean, these are very successful actors. These are, you know, Critical Role is a phenomenal success, but they are not playing on the scale of WotC.
No,
and
and
Hasbro,
I don't think they
not
will
even
be.
close, and they won't be.
And would you say that frees them up of some things too?
Yes, and that was my thought.
Yeah.
Is this comparison of going from this gigantic machine,
Corporate just structure upon ingrained structure,
and also something that has 50 years of
that was another one of the
background
that they brought up,
which is wonderful, and it makes Dungeons and Dragons so rich, and it's this amazing accomplishment, and I see good things for the game. But if I was a creator, I think there could be a draw to a smaller company and something that is closer to its beginnings.
You can build something new.
You can just build.
Everybody likes to be in on the ground floor of something.
Yeah,
you can build something new.
And as much as I think we could go down the list of laurels, and of course the credits for director, for publisher, for all of the things that they've done, you're also doing it for something that was there before you. And why not, you know, if you're going to start this thing and we think that you guys are the next deal, I can see where it's very, very attractive for, and it's not like they got put to work doing something. They're directing, hey, this is, would you guide this part of our business? So it's a big leap of faith as well on Darrington.
And I like that point because it almost sort of feels like guide the next generation, mentor the upcoming,
almost a consultancy to come in and make sure that there's strong, smart foundations in it.
Yeah, I think it shows a really smart move by Darrington to look for that kind of experience. I think it is a coup for Darrington to be able to pull that kind of experience.
That says something right there.
That says something right there, and also says something for both Crawford and Perkins's belief in Daggerheart and Darrington.
And maybe where the hobby is going slightly, you know, just looking at the curve of fandom and what they are enjoying, and does this speak better? I think that's the only time that you do something like this is if you believe that there's a place in that market that's not being reached that you should go for, that they're a group of the unsatisfied or underserved, or you can't get to them, then let's give them this.
Well, and you know, you spoke of that, I don't know, a handful of episodes ago. But we were talking about what's the future of TTRPGs and this narrative.
You've got a lot of people at the top of that mountain betting this way, is all I'm saying. You know, if those that have given us our latest and greatest versions of the biggest and most popular game are now moving to something that is said, at least implicitly in the rules as we understand them, we're focusing here now, and we think people are coming here now. Once again, we're not sinking the ship. We're not doing that. But it does it does speak to the idea that they have to see it going this way. Otherwise, the efforts would have been put into something else.
Right.
The dollars to bring people over would not have been done. They wouldn't have joined the team if they didn't believe that, that the people are asking for this. And a lot of the research that I did for the episode that you were talking about did lend to that people are wanting that deeper level of agency from the player chair to affect the story. In a back and forth spotlight setting.
In a lot of ways, the move is almost like, you know, investing in a company. You know, I mean, they've chosen to invest their career in this company before their main, as Tori put out, they have other games, but this is a game system. And so like before that main game system has been proven to be a success, they have said, I believe this is going to be a success, and I want to further influence and impact it.
I had said something, it was a couple episodes back, and I'm sure it was when we first learned that Crawford and Perkins were leaving.
Right.
And I was like, they can call their shot.
Right.
They don't have to do anything they don't want to do.
Right.
It's to the point where both of those motherfuckers could have sat down and been like, I will show up.
Yeah, whoop these shit. I've been needing to do it all day. Thank you. But no, you're right. But we talked about more in the context of what was going on and what was the poison pill that drove them out, which turned out to, at least in my understanding and research, be kind of much ado. But yeah, the conversation really was.
They might be done. They were done with WotC.
You want to go watch grass grow in Montana Ranch, dude, do it. Just a little bit while we're still talking about them. Believe that Chris Perkins, 57 years old, believe a Canadian-born American.
Yes.
Yep.
I believe that that's correct. And yeah.
Yeah, it's just he's got a really storied career, and yeah, he could have done anything. And I think it'll be interesting to watch as Daggerheart moves forward, and is there belief in it warranted? Is it going to be a big success? And B, to see how their influence might be impacting future versions. I think it'll be really fun to watch play out.
I just realized one thing, and I lost that thought.
Well, why don't we maybe take a little break
yeah.
and we
Let's
can
take a
come
break.
back and talk about Jeremy Crawford a little bit.
I like it. I like it. A little break, and we'll be right back on Finding Atoria. This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. The Finding Atoria podcast is looking for guests for our upcoming episodes. Are you or someone you know passionate about the TTRPG community and have a story to share? If so, contact us on our socials or reach out at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. And now back to your program.
Welcome back to Finding Atoria. We're going to carry on smartly with the conversation we started about talking about Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford.
Woohoo!
We sure did. We focused on Chris a little bit, who I believe we said was 57-year-old Canadian American. Okay.
Storyteller.
A storyteller. And he kind of came up from that point of being the young rascal involved in and writing his way in and kind of taking other jobs before finding, leadership and directing roles. And
we didn't really highlight it. We gave dates, but seriously, started at WotC in 1997.
right.
Well, that's when WotC started.
Exactly. I mean, that's
because TSR lost it.
exactly
Right.
So right at the beginning, I mean, right at the beginning
From
of
that transition
Yeah.
point on, he was part of the group that carried on.
Which is hilarious because if you think about some of the Forgotten Realms shit you have, some of it says TSR, some of it says Wizards of the Coast.
Yep.
Right. And it depends on when that module came out.
Exactly.
yeah, the one that I really liked is that he did he was very important in the storyline for Curse of Strahd.
Right, he was one of the main creators for that, and that's probably one of, if not the most played modules.
Yeah.
Well, and everybody knows it.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
That's why I bring
you
it
don't
up,
have
because
to
it's
wonder.
it's the big one. You know?
And you get the mental image, like
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
straight there. Very, very
Time
cool
to visit
stuff.
Barovia.
Right.
Crawford kind of came about it differently, or at least in a different era.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really on the scene of TTRPGs until the early 2000s. He had
About
done 2005, and he worked with an outfit whose name I don't have in front of me now.
Green.
Arrow, maybe?
No, it was
No.
green. It was green
Green.
something though. It's
I will find it here.
because we're prepared to podcast.
Green Ronin Publishing.
Green Ronin.
Ronin
okay.
Publishing, and there was another name in there as well. But he won an ENI in 2005 with Green Ronin for Blue Rose, and Blue Rose has been adapted many ways. There have been other editions that have come out, and it kind of put him on the map from not a small or indie company, Green Ronin, but
Smaller.
and he was given opportunities then with Warhammer
Yeah.
40K
Yep,
in 2005, which a lot of people say that was kind of when the game took back off with
And the door opened.
The door opened,
Yeah.
for sure. So always kind of an innovator.
Yeah, and I guess I want to point out the difference between Chris and Jeremy, because I think when I've when we talk about them, it's like, oh, these game designers from WotC went to Darrington, and we made a point of showing that Chris is the storyteller. Jeremy's
my
Crawford,
side.
He's the
Mechanics.
He's the game
Gears. How does it
designer.
shift?
He's the
How does it move?
engineer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, his original plan, Jeremy Crawford's, was to study theology.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
went to New York and studied theology.
Yeah, went to a seminary school.
Did go to a seminary school in New York, and I believe 53 years old.
Yeah,
living in
that's what we found.
California.
Yeah, Sort of hard to find personal
I did
information.
want to say he does not come up as searchable as Chris Perkins does whatsoever. You can almost see an attempt there to not be everywhere.
Yeah.
And
keep the personal life out of it.
I did write that down that he was definitely a little bit harder to dig. Not that we were digging into, but to find background information on. By the way, I used Wiki. I used D&D Wiki. There were a few other websites that we'll note on the site. But he also was very big into changing the game and the workplace to reflect the world that was in front of him.
Yeah. It's really noted that his big push was for the inclusivity in Dungeons and Dragons, and he started with 4th edition, really designing that.
That's when he had his fingerprints on game.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, before we go into that aspect, somewhere over 30 titles, I believe it was.
Oh yeah. I mean, his catalog of works is huge.
It may be for that game, which is not the only game.
Well, and once you get past 4,
Right.
then it's modules.
Right.
He's got Unearthed Arcana has him all up in its business.
So he's much more that content Gears guy where, like you said, the story.
Mm-hmm.
He's also the motherfucker that lead game design on Tomb of Annihilation. Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to do it.
I do think it's interesting to note that Chris and Jeremy have probably been working side by side for quite a long time, because they both were at Blue Rose. They both worked on Blue Rose. They both worked on Warhammer. They've
probably been orbiting.
They both did Dungeons and Dragons, and now they're both going to Darrington and helping out there.
One of the biggest compliments that you can give a professional is knowing what they don't know, and the strength sets between the two are very complementary.
Yeah.
Where you have a storyteller and you have a mechanics engineer for game design.
Okay, how are we going to make this work?
Right.
You tell me a story and I'll build it.
You literally go architect engineer on that, and I have an idea for this. Tell me how we're going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really I think that one without the other is probably a lesser product for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Guy was good, and I didn't mean to take the focus away, because he was about inclusion and recognized inclusion, not only inside the game but who was designing it. And there are metrics that are closer to you, Arcadia, than me, that show almost a doubling of the number of female contributors.
I mean, they're saying it's
and
designers.
Yeah, designers are, for 5th edition, maybe 2024 edition was 40% female.
Right.
And as you go back through the editions, I mean, I think originally, was it 3rd edition was like 12%.
Right.
And it's very, very evident in 1st and 2nd edition that there was little to no female involvement.
And I think that the award that he was given was, and I didn't research it too much, but was the gamer icon and the GAYMER icon, because he's a married man since 2014, but really had the platform, the position, and the people to make that a focal point in all of the biggest games that we've seen in probably the last 20 years. It was something that he was working
Push it through.
to make sure that
we're
was
not
going
to do this.
Well, and you see that in the. I know you don't run modules very often, and I've run them for other tables. But like you see
there are
that
way more women.
Well, not just women, but like the newest 5th edition starter kit is Dragons of Icespire Peak or
Yes,
something like
yes,
that.
yes,
Anyways,
yes.
one of the initial encounters in that module is you go to a community in which the rulers of the community are
Female.
two kings,
Oh, okay.
Right.
spouses.
Right.
That was the first time I had ever sat down to a D&D module.
It was just part of
and
it.
it was just part of
Yeah.
it, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just this guy and his husband, and and it was, and honestly, it was just so refreshing that it was just there.
Well, and gaming has changed. Like there are a lot more women playing now, because it used to be that if you were female and you didn't have any geeky friends, you were consigned to going to the game store, and then you had to sit next to the guy who smelled like Fritos the whole time, who kept trying to look down your shirt.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, two things. First of all, Fritos are delicious.
They are.
yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm joking. No, I
Yeah.
totally get it. It was such an underrepresented group.
And unfortunately, a lot of gatekeeping.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And to the point that, like, my kid who is 14 in middle school, when has spoken about playing the game with guys that she knows in school, is like, you play D&D? And she's like, well, yeah. And girls don't play D&D.
Right. There's still that,
I mean,
so
like,
this-
this is the current
and
generation.
we talked about how bad it was for reasons back when.
Yeah.
Some of that's just people being dicks.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
that's going to be here for now and forever. But yeah.
So I want to make a correction.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the 40% that was sticking in my brain
Uh-oh.
is that the game is approximated as 40% female players now. The design team for 5th edition was 26% female for 5th, 20% for 4th, and 12 for 3rd.
Yeah.
So there we go.
We were 50-50 for such a long time. Well, we
Oh,
were.
my.
Well, we were. I'm just saying we weren't beating the curve or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, also not just gender, not just
But
orientation, but also, the racial segregation that's been in the game since the beginning.
They're dropping so much.
Right, but-
has very
Which is
much
good.
changed.
Which you're being asked to associate with as evil is no longer based on such criteria, which
Right.
was a downside of how the game had been written previously. Most people can agree. I mean, if you want to run your game however you want to run your game, but the focus on that should be different.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I will say that has been an interesting, as we explored Daggerheart, that has been a very interesting read through. I mentioned to Tori as we were doing some character building that to go through the different ancestry. And it's, just simply laid out there that, like an orc is this kind of a humanoid, and a goblin is this kind of a humanoid, and and it was just,
Ribbit.
Hey, dude.
but
I'm going to make that tongue thing work at least once.
but
At least once.
Singing I am amphibious.
the neutrality that went along with the fact that these are just types of creatures in the world, and unfortunately, even as the current editions have moved further and further away from the kind of sort of racial differences and prejudices that were in the early editions, that there's still that, like, when I'm playing D&D, I sort of still think of goblins as in general evil. Because they're still in the monster manual, and they're still, things that you fight as the very first thing. And the same thing with orcs and stuff like that. And so I don't know. I found it interesting to not feel that way as I was looking at different kinds of characters. And that, I think in D&D, that push is coming from people like Jeremy Crawford, that he's been really trying to make those changes.
Very much so.
Bert, I'm sorry. I totally
That's okay. I forgot what I was going to say again.
'Cause I
Let's
cut you
go
off.
Another one in there. All right.
Do not cut off Tori.
Yeah. She's going to lose every thought in her head.
I did not have a whole lot more, at least myself, on drilling down. I think that there's just an impressive list of of work that's been done for both of them, and I think that they're in a position now that is sort of, if you had to look at the leading edge of large TTRPG changes, if you're going to have a difference in how a bunch of people play the game, they're applying their minds to that space, and Daggerheart, I think,
gives them...
it's a foothold that they can grow from.
Yep.
Yeah. So here's my question. I don't know if any of us have looked into this or know the answers to, but where does this leave WotC for talent for, I mean, I know they just dropped 2024.
They just dropped 2024, and there's a whole bunch of the newbie game designers.
I was going to say,
They got a whole
I'm
new
sure they have a
crew.
huge bench. They're
And-
gigantic, you know.
and
But do we know names? Do we have...
very good question that you.
There's a couple of female ones that show up.
But no one's being anointed yet, I don't think, or the same
No, they keep
positions have been given.
they spotlight them. They're like, hey, look, this person
It'd
did
be
this
interesting
thing.
if anybody listening had some insight into that. That wasn't just like 100% bullshit. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like-
her name's Becca. She lives down in 3A.
Yeah.
Yeah, like no. But if you know what's going on there, that'd be interesting, because I think that in some ways for WotC, if I'm business owner, if I'm Hasbro, we're ready. 2025 was the last time it's going to look like that, and it looked beautiful. And maybe you're going to see subtle changes, not in response to, but you may see some more tailoring of the game if everybody's hearing the same information, which is players want this.
Right.
And that does seem sort of consistent. If anybody can tell you what you want, it's Hasbro. They're going to be like, no, actually 2028 rules are exactly what you want. But I think with fresh leadership comes an opportunity to, as any company does, have to have vision for the future.
I will say this. With those two, Darrington knows who's pulling the wagon.
Definitely.
Like, those are two horses that you would want to hitch to.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it probably
It sets
probably
them
got-
up for really good success as they move through the future.
And I wonder if they were able to get anybody else with them, because part of that is they're going to want teams that they've worked with, people
Yeah.
that they trust. And was it just those names, or were those the only names that hit the news? And does that really matter, though? Because I think that whenever you're in a community for gaming, your community is going to tell you where you're going.
Yeah,
And
and-
this was a big bet to go get Crawford and Perkins, that this is the way it's going.
And I do want to say to that about them bringing people over in teams. There has been some talk in the community just about like, oh, they're going to come in and they're going to D&Dify Daggerheart and, you know, all this other kind of stuff.
Nope.
And so to the point of the lead designer on Daggerheart, Spencer Stark, I believe
Yep.
is his name. You know, he made a comment, you know, a public comment to say, hey, like
That's not their game.
First off, I'm not being booted out. I haven't lost my job. Like, I'm still designing this game.
Right.
Second,
They don't. That's not their job title.
Them coming in is not going to change the direction of Daggerheart. Like, that has been laid out. That is where it's going. That's what they wanted to do. And then he also pointed out that, like, he specifically did not want. He told ownership, I don't want to be management. I don't want to be leading the teams. I want to be leading design. I want to make games. And so if that means that other people need to be brought in to do that leading of people, then bring other people
That's
in.
a director level role in a company.
Right. And so what did they do? They have brought in the people who have experience leading people.
Right.
You know, in those
Because
realms.
he's like, nope, I'm going to sit over on this project here.
He's like,
that's all I want.
I'm having fun building Daggerheart.
It's an important distinction, though, because we think of, or at least in my mind, you can get the idea of, you know, the D&D cloak coming off and they walk across the cartoon street.
Yeah.
And the Darrington cloak comes on and then they sit down and they're making games. No, you've hired creative
These
and
are-
game directors.
Directors.
And so what they're going to be tasked with is building teams that can effectively execute the vision of the company in that space, games and creativity.
Yeah.
And yeah, are they going to have their fingerprints? Yes, but you're paying Mr. Stark to sit down and build that game.
Yeah.
Right.
And it sounds like everybody really knows that, hey, you're not a threat to me. You're not coming in
Yeah,
here to
that's-
coach the team, general manager. Sorry,
Yeah.
really bad sports analogy, but you're not drawing up plays.
Right.
You're telling us that we're spending a whole bunch on a running back this year.
I guarantee there's a lot like of I'm sure if they're all in office, if they're not working from home, I can only imagine the things you'd pick up just from being in their orbit.
Right? I
Fly on the wall.
Yeah,
day,
yeah. I'd be
Darrington
like,
Press.
oh, I have no ideas.
Right.
You can't see me leaning over like I'm listening to a wall, guys.
This is not a visual.
Just me with a
format.
mop and some 80s headphones.
Yeah, exactly.
Just right
Yeah,
by
just-
the boardroom. Just
Yep.
that'd be wild. I think it was kind of fun. We didn't go into deep like childhood, anything that was really of and
Well, because you bring that up. I mean, I don't have a lot of deep stuff, but something we talked about with Perkins, we didn't talk about with Crawford. I mean, like the information on him, like he's been playing what did it say? He was introduced to the game when he was 6.
right. His sister turned him on.
He was
to
a
the game.
baby gamer.
You know, I mean, that's so cool.
I need somebody else to roll a die because this is getting weird. Come here, sit down.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You know, again,
Right.
just to be in the game that long, and to be doing something you love that much for your career. That's really cool.
Thank you.
And to impact it so
Thank-
much.
Thank you to your sister or to
Right.
his sister, right?
I have to go back a few episodes when I maybe alluded to the idea of fault regarding the OGL crisis and these two gentlemen back at WotC. They are on public statement, and it is known that that was not their call. So if I said
They were one
anything,
of the first ones to be like, no,
so,
not
and
us.
I think I cleared it up in the episode, but if
you
I have
did.
not, allow me.
Yeah,
with
there was a
all-
lot of
yeah.
waving of arms going, no,
Right.
no.
I was making the distinction of
Yeah.
where they were
They
when
were
those
there,
things
yeah.
happened and the somewhat restrictive nature of the original OGL over at Darrington.
But they wouldn't have had anything
But
to do
they
with
would not
the
have, yes.
licenses.
And if I insinuated anything other than that, please understand that you can email me at contrition.pet. No. just wanted to make that clear because
WordLeafMedia.com.
yes, that's Tori.
They can find my name.
Oh, that's funny. But that's really all I had. A 53-year-old Jeremy Crawford.
Yeah.
Not very much older than us.
No.
So,
But we haven't admitted to that at all.
so can I choose what we're gonna do? We're
Go
gonna get
for it.
off the microphone and
We
we are
are.
gonna go finish building our Daggerheart character.
And we're going to play.
And we're going to play test Daggerheart so that when we come back, we'll be able to have some definitive opinions on
Yes.
things that we've speculated on up to this point.
Yes. We're going to share with you what it's like to play the game.
Yes.
What our takeaways are from that.
You can get hold of us if you go looking at www.wordleafmedia.com // finding a Torio. We're there. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. I haven't put a TikTok one up, but I don't think I'm going to.
We're on all the podcasts.
Yeah, we are on all the podcatchers. You can see us at Buzzsprout. We're there too.
Yeah, you
And
can do that. You can also
Patreon.
on Patreon.
Patreon.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's different tiers and different levels and different ways to interact with us.
Oh, and did I hear there were certain types of shirts?
Oh, I don't know that we need to outkick our freaking coverage here,
What's your
Arcadia.
that go?
There's some conceptual T-shirt designs. if there's enough fever from our listeners to get it done quickly, and there's enough commentary, I'll move more quickly on it. But yes, also if you've listened to the podcast and you think there might be some quotes or things that could go on a shirt with a Finding a Tory logo.
Absolutely.
You can go to just send us an email at contactus@wordleafmedia.com.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
All
I
right,
think that's
guys.
what you do.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, and we'll save your seat at the table.
Yeah.
Bah.